Hi, Paula here from My Whimsical Little World, and today I want to share with you my Northern Lights background. So here what I did was I was playing around and I accidentally messed it up there in the top. And what I wanted to show you was that there were two different ways that I could ink it up. I went horizontal to get one look, and then the other way to your left was more of a scattered. It was just here, there, and everywhere. So it gives you two different looks, and I mean you can do anything. Anything is possible with this. Not sure. I'm using two different inks, ink doohickeys. What are their names? I'm using two different ones, the round one and the rectangular one. I can tell you right now, although I like the round one because it's small and it works great when I do like little quick touch-up sort of things, this is great. However, I found because of my limitation physically, I really appreciated this one right here because it was easier to apply the ink onto the paper. Another thing that I also wanted to take note was, as I'm still trying to figure out, is making sure that your paper it works a lot better, and then also because of my physical limitations, I want it to be a smoother process and not have to work so hard to get my layers in, is to have my first layer saturate my paper, and then that way when I apply my inks, then my inks will just slide on the paper. So here is the trick in finding an ink that is light enough that won't be like, it won't come out like mud. So the only thing I have right now is the shabby shutters, which I think is not going to work because it's as you can see right here, it kind of creates another, of course, another color, but another darker one, and I don't like it. So I need something even lighter. Too bad there wasn't like a clear ink. That is something to find if they have it, is a clear ink. Just for pure the sake of saturation. That's it. That's all we want it for. So here I was selecting my paper, and initially I just used the regular Stampin' Up! Whisper White, but today I decided that I would use the 110-pound cardstock from Recollections that I bought for $1.19, I think, at Michael's, and I just wanted a little bit more tooth, but I didn't want to use watercolor paper. Then of course we're using the cute little digi-stamp that will be released in December from My Whimsical Little World. And still gotta get a name for him. He will come separately like this, and he will also come with his little guy right here sitting on top holding a cup of cocoa. And this is so this will come as a digi all by himself, and then of course a digi with both of them together like this. That way you have the option to play with one or the other. It's a set. So I'm really excited to share this digi stamp with all of you, and you'll also see a lot of it in the blog hop for the coffee lovers, and that's in December, so I'm really excited about that. And I don't drink coffee, but I've been having a lot of fun making coffee digis. So we're going to put this little guy over there because he's our inspiration. And I'm also going to use the stamp set from that I received from my memberships. And I no longer subscribe, and that's only because I've been hoarding and I need to use them. So once I start using them, you'll see me back in the list, Simon Says Stamp. So this is from Simon Says Stamp. And the one that I'm going to be using is This Calls for Cake and Candles. Now I would use my embossing, my white embossing, and put it right here in the bottom. However, we're packing and moving, and I can't find my embossing powders. So I'm going to improvise and just use this craft white, Whisper White ink from Stampin' Up!, which is super thick, and it's actually kind of looks like embossing, but it's just wet. So that's what I'm using for my phrase, because this really does call for cake and candles. First one I'm going to be using is Wild Honey. That's a softer one, and then I'm going to be going over it with Dried Marigold. I just like the combination of the two. And then of course I'm using cracked pistachio. I found that the shabby shutters was just too light like I'd shown you. So I'm going to see what happens with the cracked pistachio. I'm also using the peacock feathers, which is beautiful turquoise, and the picked raspberry, the dusty concord, and one of my friends else, she said to try the chip sapphire. So I did try that, and it did give it a nice undercoat. Let's see if you can see it. So this is without, this was just the purple, the dusty concord, and then I tried to use the black soup, but it was just too light. So then I ended up using my Memento black ink. But yesterday I bought some ink, and I'm going to try using the Color Box ink because I don't want to use my Memento ink. I don't know why, don't ask me. Okay, and then this one here is using the chip sapphire, and there's different color totally from the two. There's more blue in the base, so it, and then plus the Memento on top didn't take it away, so I really like the look of that. So thank you so much else for that suggestion. I used it, and I also used the green because I forgot the green. That's important. Okay, so here I'm starting my process, and I'm working from the paper underneath and working my way in, and I'm just working horizontal and just adding my layers, first starting with the wild honey and then adding some dry marigold, and then moving on to the pickled raspberry. Or is it picked raspberry? Sorry. And then I used the cracked pistachio that in the end I didn't like it as much, so I would definitely go back to the shabby shutters. And then I used the peacock feathers. Beautiful, beautiful color. And then I moved to the dusty concord. And then of course I needed to do the outside, and I was almost going to use my color box, and then remembered to do the chip, was it the sapphire? The chip sapphire before the black. So I inked up the sides there, just creating a vignetting here and making it really loose so it's not all symmetrical. That was really important, that it didn't look symmetrical. And then I started adding the color box, and then during that process I realized that the color box was not going on as well as I had wanted it to. It was actually just a little bit darker than the black suit. So I switched back into using my Memento ink instead. And here I was just getting rid of some of the ink on the side so that I can create some softness and tone down some of the color in the inside, just to give the colors a bit of movement. And then I used a piece of paper, some cheap paper, and I ripped it up and made some curves there for some hills. And now I'm just going to ink up the bottom, and you have to hold it steady and just apply it. I applied it with pressure just to get a lot of ink down there. And this is really, really messy, so afterwards you have to be careful in making sure that your hands are clean and not touching anywhere where you have the light colors. And I guess I did make some mistakes, so I was correcting them there. And then I'm using, for my background for my trees, I wanted the trees in the background and for perspectives as well. I did the Inkadinkadoo Christmas ones, and so I had to be really careful because they had little stars and snow, so I had to clean them off, and I wasn't completely successful, but I corrected it. And then afterwards I added my snowflakes using my gel pen from Sakura that I purchased at Michael's, and I found this to be the best of all the gel pens that I've ever had. And I just went nuts adding little ones, big ones, medium ones, didn't matter, all over. And then of course I used my sentiments. Again, I couldn't use embossing, and I wasn't completely happy because it it's not coming out, and the ink, the white ink, is actually absorbing into the black ink. So I'm really disappointed. I wish I did have my embossing powder so it would really make it pop out. So I just might run out and get some at Michael's if I can find it. Now I'm layering my cards because I want that background to really pop up from my cardstock. So I'm putting it on a layer of white, and I already have my card trimmed up. And I'm also going to make it so that my polar bear guy, he is popping out, so I'm just adding some dimensionals onto him. And before I do that too, what I always do with my stamps is I do the trimming on, or the edging. I color it with C9, but you have to be very careful not to let it sit for too long on the paper because it basically absorbs the ink. And there you have it. So there's our completed card. And it's really simple, super fast, and easy to do. And there are so many variations, and I will show you 2 variations at the end of this video of what I got when I was playing with just playing with the inks. Yep, so I hope you like my little mini tutorial. I hope it helped you and inspired you to play with some Northern Lights. I know I'm going to go back and play a little bit more, and maybe this time have the little lines rather than it being in the center. And if I get to it, but it won't be today, I will definitely share my results. So hope you liked it, and if you do, I would love it if you give it a thumbs up. And until next time, have a creative week.